I like to be bound by my word, and those people who have worked with me over the years know that my word is my bond, and I don't go back on that. Artists, unfortunately, are oftentimes concerned with being musically correct and having on the right clothes and the right makeup, and that's not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough.
Hit the music world today. R&B singer PHYLLIS HYMAN was found dead in her apartment this afternoon.
PHYLLIS HYMAN, known by many monikers like Love Goddess and the Sophisticated Lady, epitomized the essence of a true artist.
1,000,000 times or more I've thought about you.
Her voice, rich with depth and emotional intensity, brought songs to life, touching the soul deeply. She not only made you feel whatever story she wanted you to hear, but also understand what she left unsaid. Standing at 6 feet with an undeniable beauty, PHYLLIS was a vision of elegance and power on stage, embodying the very definition of royalty. Beyond her artistry, she was celebrated for her intelligence and confidence, navigating the music industry with a clear vision. Like Sam Cooke and others alike, she championed freedom, especially for minorities. With strong convictions on this, she brushed many the wrong way, often viewed as a threat and others uncontrollable. PHYLLIS's refusal to conform to industry standards, particularly Clive Davis's push for her to switch to then fan-favorite pop music, highlighted her unwavering resolve. Her resistance was not just about artistic integrity, but also intertwined with her personal battle with bipolar disorder, which made her particularly sensitive to external pressures to change. This condition played a significant role in her struggle against industry demands, reinforcing her belief in her self-worth and resistance to compromise. Tragically, her life ended on June 30th, 1995, just 6 days before her 46th birthday, under circumstances that sparked debate among fans, with some suspecting foul play, while others attribute it to drug overdose, marked a somber end to the career of a fiercely independent artist. Before we delve deeper into the circumstances surrounding her tragic end, it's crucial to address mental health. If you or someone you know is battling a condition like bipolar disorder, it's important to remember you're not alone. Reaching out for help and seeking appropriate care can make a significant difference. Being there for someone, listening, and offering support can be incredibly powerful. Sharing one's struggles can lighten the burden. Problems shared is half solved, so they say. Our ultimate goal is to foster an environment where everyone, young and the old, can find a reason to smile and hope. PHYLLIS HYMAN was definitely battling a lot prior to her demise, and as a somewhat strong woman who many looked up to, it came as a shock as to why she decided to take that route. How did it come to this? How did it reach to a point where someone who knew her worth, possessed everything to make her dream a reality, reached a point of giving up? This is the untold story of PHYLLIS Linda Hyman. In the latter half of the 1800s, Ishmael Lynch, son of Native Americans George and Millia Lynch, began working on the plantation of William Hyman, a slave owner in Hamilton, Martin County in North Carolina. William Hyman enforced a policy requiring the Native Americans on his land to adopt his surname, leading Ishmael to become Ishmael Hyman. On this plantation, Ishmael met Cassandra Cross, another native working as a housekeeper. The two fell in love, marrying in 1870. By 1874, they welcomed their first child, James Benjamin Hyman, eventually having 8 more, including Zachariah Henry Hyman, the grandfather of celebrated actor Earl Hyman, known for his role as Russell Huxtable, and Cliff's father on The Cosby Show. Ishmael, a staunch advocate for liberation, something that would be seen in PHYLLIS later in her life, worked tirelessly to secure a better future for his children. And so, following the Civil War, which saw the abolition of slavery, he invested around $35 to buy land in Goose Nest, Martin County, through one Solomon Hyman, a significant step towards establishing his family's legacy. His son, James Benjamin, a Baptist minister and farmer, would marry Lizzie Hilliard in 1896 and together sire 6 children, among them Philip Hughes Hyman, born in 1919. In the late 1930s, facing unimproving conditions in North Carolina, Philip Hyman and 2 of his brothers migrated north, eventually settling in Philadelphia. Shortly after, Philip was drafted into the Army, serving from December 1941 to November 1945, stationed in North Africa. Returning to Philadelphia, he began working in his brother's barbershop, and while in his adventures met Louise Lively, a waitress at a local nightclub. Louise had faced a tough childhood under the hands of her mother and was working there in a bid to sustain herself. Their relationship grew more than cordial, and before they knew it, Louise was pregnant, leading to marriage between the two shortly after. On the 6th of July 1949, she gave birth to a sweet little girl, her name Phyllis Linda Hyman. With the mother retiring to fully raise her kid, Philip had to step up to provide for his people. He left the barbershop for a job as a postal clerk at the railroad. The family moved to Pittsburgh's St. Clair Village housing projects. Rapidly expanding their family, they faced severe challenges. Louise fell into chronic depression, exacerbated by the birth of 2 more children in quick succession, forcing them to give their youngest to family friends as they were unable to cope. Surprisingly, the couple went on to add 4 kids, totaling 7 in number, something that did more harm to the already ill Louise. To add salt to the injury, Philip was always absent, due to working overtime at his railroad job. An absent father plus an ill mother, a recipe for disaster. The household descended into chaos, with the children suffering neglect, unkempt and untidy becoming their middle names. And if you thought this was the worst that the cruel world had thrown at the Hymans, here's more. Working overtime took a toll on Philip, the sole provider of the family. Coupled with the aftermath of his time in the military, he developed back problems, forcing him to early retirement on medical disability. He had no option but go back and do barbering part-time in their basement. But the financial and emotional strain caused frustrations, driving him to heavy drinking and time to time verbally abusing Louise in front of the kids. In the neighborhood, the Hyman family faced disdain, fueling a sense of self-loathing among the children who blamed their circumstances on their parents. Phyllis, feeling a fleeting sense of being cherished in her early years, always considered herself distinct from her siblings, whom she dismissively called, quote, her cousins. Unaware of her mother's struggles, she often rebelled and turned a deaf ear to her advice, mirroring her father's verbal abuse towards her, and also intimidated her younger siblings into submission, further complicating the family's dynamics. Jeannie, the third-born who had been under the care of family friends for her first 6 years, recognized the need for change. With resolve, she took on the responsibility of preparing her younger siblings for school, ensuring they were presentable and fed, aiming to introduce some semblance of order and care into their chaotic lives. Back to Phyllis, with her self-centered trait, she didn't care about the others, but herself. In fact, as a kid, she always perceived the family's poverty as a curse, and was quoted saying she wanted no part in it. It also made her develop resentment towards marriage even more, and to her, all she wanted was to grow up to be an independent rich woman and not follow her mother's footsteps.
My dream as a child was to be a rich, successful, single, childless, Afro-American woman.
With her spunky and strong personality, her rebellious nature drove her to look for guidance out there on her own, developing an extroverted character in the process. Unbeknown to her, she had a hidden talent, a talent that didn't take long to get noticed. While attending Philip Murray Elementary School, her music teacher, the beloved Eleonora Lasesna, God rest her soul, noticed her vocal talent and dedicated herself to nurturing Phyllis's gift, offering the encouragement and guidance her parents could not provide. Renowned for fostering a love of music and elegance among her students through her innovative concerts, Mrs. Eleanor ensured she brought the best out of her students. Under her care, Phyllis was in safe hands, very safe hands. It is believed that her special talent may have been passed down to her through Walter Lively, her maternal grandfather, who was a musician and traveled the U.S. to perform in the early 1930s. By the time she attended Knoxville Junior High, her mature voice stood out, making her a local talent show sensation. Her unique combination of light skin, extroverted personality and humor won her popularity across all age groups in the school. While in 6th grade, some 7th and 8th graders approached her with the intent of forming a vocal group, giving her the lead role. Due to her young age, they had to get permission for her to sing with them. Going by the name the Centrails, they performed in a number of talent shows and always emerged winners. When alone, Phyllis would at times tag along her sisters as her backup singers. Music, initially just a special skill for Phyllis, took on new meaning after she was inspired by Nancy Wilson's voice on the radio. That magical voice changed her trajectory in how she viewed music, and Nancy's voice became the standard unit of vocal prowess. Phyllis also sang with the prestigious Pittsburgh All-City Choir and worked as a backup singer at Steel City Records. Joining Carrick High School after, her popularity soared. She became a member of the Student Council, the Human Relations Club, intramurals, and of course, the choir. Her music teacher, David Tamburai, recognized her talent immediately and decided to take a special interest in her to the extent of offering her extra lessons. To him, she was a natural. Fast forward in 1967, she managed to graduate and immediately joined a trio group called the Sounds of Ebony, marking the beginning of her professional musical journey. Around this time, David Tamburai, Phyllis's former music teacher at Carrick High, landed a position at the Robert Morris Business College and was tasked with establishing a music department for its transition to a fully accredited state university. Recognizing Phyllis's talent, he ensured she received the college's inaugural music scholarship. Meanwhile, back home, things went back to worse. Her father left, deeply affecting her mother. Phyllis's strict maternal grandmother stepped in, but her presence only intensified their mother's depression. During this tumultuous time, Phyllis decided to move out to live independently. Joining college was not something Phyllis was well prepared for. Her social life, marked by drinking and smoking weed, clashed with her academic and musical commitments. Her teacher, Tamburai, tirelessly supported her, to the extent of securing her performance opportunities at prestigious jazz clubs like the Lowendy Club and Crawford Grill, where she impressed. Her talent was undeniable, well as observed from those around her, who believed she was destined for greatness as a vocalist. But Phyllis was always in doubt of her potential and just wanted to do things her heart wanted. It didn't come as a surprise when she dropped out of college after just 1 year in and momentarily stepped away from music for a clerical job at General Electric and later as a secretary at Westinghouse and followed by neighborhood legal services. Her aspiration for a corporate career was hindered by her chronic tardiness, suggesting her true calling lay elsewhere, beyond the confines of a conventional job. Phyllis had gone back to doing small gigs around town when one day her musical journey into the music industry took a significant turn after she was discovered by the legendary pianist Dick Morgan at a charity event. He offered her a chance to tour with his group, New Direction, an opportunity Phyllis embraced wholeheartedly.
And then in '71, I was asked to join the New Direction, headed up by Dick Morgan, a wonderful pianist. I joined the group and I really liked being on the road. I liked singing professionally.
The tour exposed her to the professionalism and business aspects of the music industry, but the group disbanded 6 months later, prompting her return to Pittsburgh. To keep herself occupied and also sort her bills, she took a job as a babysitter but grew tired after 8 months. The unfulfillment fueled her drive to go all in on music, something that gave her life meaning. Her passion led her to Miami, where she successfully auditioned and joined the band All the People. Her talent shone in Miami, earning her solo gigs and collaborations with bands like the Hondo Beat and work with greats such as Joe Donato, whom she revered as the professor of jazz. Phyllis's rising fame in Miami attracted the attention of director Bob Fosse, who was in Miami to shoot a biopic titled Lenny for comedian Lenny Bruce. Bob invited her for a cameo. While working with the Hondo Beat, a group that regularly played on assorted cruise ships, she met Larry Alexander, a Jamaican vocalist, and the two quickly became lovers. Shortly after, when Joe Donato's contract in the city ended and he wanted to take the group on tour, Phyllis opted to remain and decided to form her own band and called PHYLLIS HYMAN and the PH Factor, which featured bassist Mark Agan, drummer Billy Bowker, guitarist Hiram Bullock, and keyboardist Clifford Carter as the original members. With the group, she played every genre and never quite limited herself. With this, it never took long before they became known to a point of landing 6-nights-a-week gigs around Miami. Phyllis was in her element, and her determination was seen in her work rate. What was separating her from her childhood dream of becoming a successful business lady was her hard work, something she was ready to put in. One of the gigs she had was at a club owned by Lenny Levenstein, who was really impressed by her and saw a huge potential in her. So he arranged an audition for her at TK Records, the parent company of Alston Records. Despite impressing the executives at the auditions, negotiations fell through due to Phyllis's insistence on independence, a stance that she took with other producers too. In around the festive season of 1975, seeking broader opportunities, Phyllis and her group decided to take their talents to New York, marking a new chapter in her pursuit of musical acclaim. Upon arriving in New York, Phyllis Hyman and her band quickly made a name for themselves at Russ Brown's Club, captivating audiences with their eclectic music selection. Their unique sound drew attention, including that of Norman Connors, a drummer and composer with Buddha Records, who was searching for a voice to replace John Carn on his album, You Are My Starship. Impressed by Phyllis's performance, Connors immediately offered her a solo deal. A year later, he tapped her to sing the lead in his version of the Stylistics classic, Betcha by Golly Wow. He also arranged for her to sing We Both Need Each Other with duet partner Michael Henderson. The album turned gold, reaching number 5 on the US R&B chart and number 1 on the jazz chart. Hyman's collaborations expanded to artists like Pharoah Sanders and the Fatback Band as she worked on her debut album. Released in 1977 by Buddha Records, Phyllis Hyman marked the beginning of her rising fame, attracting attention from stars like Roberta Flack, who tagged her manager, Mick Jagger, to come see her in one of the tours. Her tall stature and beauty added the oomph in her already heavenly voice. Her career would further blossom with endorsements, such as a Burger King commercial secured by her husband and manager, Larry.
Oh, yes, America loves burgers at America's Burger King.
Her second album, Sing a Song, featured Gonna Make Changes, a song she wrote which served as a powerful tribute to activist Angela Davis. The song showcased Hyman's commitment to social change through music. The song was good for her, but bad PR for the label, as it created a rift between the fans. Struggling with negative publicity and a lack of chart-topping releases, Buddha Records found itself on the brink of collapse due to financial difficulties. At this critical juncture, Clive Davis, freshly ousted from CBS Records and eager to establish his new venture, Arista Records, stepped in to acquire the beleaguered label. This acquisition included transferring Phyllis Hyman to Arista, a change that promised fresh opportunities. Davis, with his proven track record and a personal motive to validate his prowess in the music industry post-CBS, was exactly the catalyst needed to rejuvenate Phyllis's career. Her debut album under Arista was Somewhere in My Lifetime, released in 1979, featuring the Barry Manilow-produced title track. From the outset, Phyllis's working relationship with Clive Davis was fraught with tension, primarily due to a clash of egos. Phyllis had always been accustomed to leading, whether it was her band, her autonomy at Buddha Records, or her relationship with Larry. Under Clive Davis's management, however, she encountered a different dynamic, with Davis's assertive approach dictating the direction. Despite this, Davis recognized Phyllis's talent and was committed to propelling her to stardom. His strategy involved steering Phyllis towards the pop genre, aiming for broader appeal, which further strained their relationship. Amid these professional challenges, Phyllis sought stability in her personal life by formalizing her union with Larry in a marriage ceremony held in Florida around September 1978. Back to Arista, Clive Davis arranged for Phyllis to collaborate with producers James Mtume and Reggie Lucas on the album You Know How to Love Me. The title track gained significant traction within R&B circles and on dance floors. Yet, as Arista Records began signing other prominent artists like Dionne Warwick, Angela Bofill, and Aretha Franklin, Phyllis felt sidelined. Accustomed to being the focal point at Buddha Records, she struggled with the shift to being one among many talents at Arista, which precipitated a slide into depression. Seeking autonomy and a sense of control amidst these challenges, Phyllis pursued opportunities beyond Arista. She contributed background vocals to the Beck family's debut album, Dancin' on the Ceiling. Additionally, Phyllis auditioned for and landed a role in the Broadway musical Sophisticated Ladies, a tribute to Duke Ellington. Despite Clive Davis's reservations, fearing it might detract from her recording commitments, Phyllis embraced the opportunity, going against Davis's order. Her performance in the musical for 2 years not only showcased her versatility as an artist, but also earned her the Theatre World Award for Best Newcomer, marking a significant achievement in her career amidst the turmoil. Simultaneously with her increasing success, Phyllis released another album under Arista titled Can't We Fall in Love Again? The standout track, the title song, a duet with Michael Henderson, soared to number 9 on the R&B charts, marking her first solo top 10 hit. This achievement catapulted her into high demand, with offers pouring in from magazines to modeling gigs. She was back in her prime, reminiscent of her days in Miami, thriving in the spotlight and exerting control over her career trajectory. However, the relentless pace and the repetitive nature of her engagements began to take a toll on her. She grew increasingly irritable, impacting her personal relationships, especially with her husband, Larry. The strain led to accusations of infidelity and disagreements over starting a family, pushing their marriage to the brink. Reportedly, Phyllis had terminated 2 pregnancies during their relationship, prioritizing her career over family life, a decision reflective of deeper, unresolved childhood trauma. Although she cherished the idea of children, she didn't feel prepared for motherhood. During this tumultuous period, Larry, no longer acting as her manager and focusing on his career, agreed to a mutual separation, marking the end of their marriage.
Why did it end? I think we just grew apart. You know, he went one way and I went another, and...
Would you give up the money and success for the husband and kids?
Forget it.
Following her success in Sophisticated Ladies, Phyllis unveiled her 4th album with Arista, Goddess of Love, in 1983. The track Riding the Tiger gained notable popularity within LGBTQ circles, becoming a beloved anthem at drag shows throughout the mid-'80s. However, tensions between her and Clive Davis escalated, leading to an irreparable rift. Phyllis's steadfast refusal to shift her musical style to pop, as Clive suggested, was a constant source of conflict. Clive, on his part, expressed regret over not securing Gladys Knight instead, upon acquiring Buddha Records, hinting that Phyllis was not his first choice. This revelation deeply upset Phyllis, who detested the idea of being considered a secondary option. Their disagreements often devolved into heated exchanges, with Phyllis resisting Clive's directives and openly confronting him, something that never sat well with Clive. During a hiatus in her recording career due to disputes with her label, Phyllis Hyman diversified her talents. She lent her voice to movie soundtracks, television commercials, and provided guest vocals for artists like Chuck Mangione, The Whispers, and The Four Tops. Same year, she recorded Never Say Never Again, intended as the title track for the James Bond film of the same name. Unfortunately, legal issues prevented its use in the movie. At Arista, the situation remained bleak. Phyllis's manager, Glenda Gracia, made every effort to mend the rift between Phyllis and Clive Davis, urging them to reconcile and collaborate once more. However, for Clive, that opportunity had long passed. Known for his disdain for uncooperative talented artists, he made a decisive move in 1984 by signing Whitney Houston, an emerging talent, as her replacement, effectively signaling the end of Phyllis's tenure with the label. The termination of her contract with Arista deeply wounded Phyllis. Each episode of stress and depression transformed her, but this particular setback was especially painful. Freshly divorced from her understanding and protective husband, Phyllis faced loneliness and unfulfilled dreams at 35. Haunted by her desire for children and the memory of 2 abortions, she spiraled into drug and alcohol abuse, intensifying after her separation. Cocaine, once used sparingly, became her constant escape. Her volatile mood swings prompted her manager to suggest professional help, leading to a bipolar disorder diagnosis, a condition familiar within her family. She sought therapy and was prescribed medication. Disliking how the prescribed medication dulled her creativity, she chose to self-medicate instead. Despite her vow never to sign with another label after Arista, the opportunity from Gamble and Huff's Philadelphia International Records in 1985 was too enticing to decline. At Philadelphia International Records, Phyllis Hyman released Living All Alone in 1986, featuring standout torch songs like Old Friend and the introspective title track, alongside You Just Don't Know. Around this period, she encountered Tad Fanar at a supermarket, sparking an immediate romantic connection. Fresh out of rehab, Phyllis felt rejuvenated with a newfound sense of purpose. In 1987, she teamed up with Barry Manilow to record Black and Blue for his Swing Street album on Arista, a collaboration stemming from Manilow's long-standing appreciation of her talent. Following this, she made appearances in the movies School Days and The Kill Reflex, in addition to contributing vocals to projects with Grover Washington Jr. and Lonnie Liston Smith, among others, and embarking on international tours. Despite her professional resurgence, Phyllis reverted to her previous coping mechanisms, including alcohol, cocaine, excessive eating, and promiscuous behavior to manage her emotional turmoil. Her romantic involvements, spanning a wide range of partners, only deepened her despair due to the inability to establish a lasting connection with someone she truly loved. The cumulative weight of these issues led Phyllis to attempt to take her own life with sleeping pills in June 1990, a year after a prior attempt. Recognizing the severity of her situation, she was encouraged to head back to rehab, which she did in January 1991, seeking a path to recovery. Following her stint in rehab, Phyllis Hyman released Prime of My Life on June 11, 1991. This album stood out as the pinnacle of her career and was the final one she released while alive. It showcased her first #1 hit on the R&B charts and her inaugural entry into the Billboard Top 100 with Don't Want to Change the World. Additionally, the album offered 2 more R&B top 10 singles, Living in Confusion and When You Get Right Down to It, alongside the moderately successful I Found Love. A little over a year after this release, she made her final appearance on a Norman Connors album, delivering the title track Remember Who You Are, which enjoyed minor R&B success. In 1992, both the album and its leading single were certified gold by the RIOA. Phyllis's battle with sobriety faced setbacks in 1993 following the deaths of her mother and grandmother within a month of each other, plunging her into a severe depressive state. Fast forward in 1994, she suffered a broken foot during a performance, necessitating a period of rest. This downtime led to weight gain and a struggle with self-esteem, exacerbated by the industry's harsh scrutiny over her appearance, despite her undeniable beauty. She also faced a serious financial turmoil due to cavalier spending to feed her addictions. As these challenges mounted, she descended further into depression, trapped in a cycle of self-destructive behavior. She grappled with feelings of unlove, loneliness, and existential despair, questioning the meaning of her life amidst the overwhelming emptiness.
Yes, I'm gonna ache, but I will not break. Something.
The events of June 30th caught everyone off guard. In the weeks leading up to her scheduled performance with the Whispers at the Apollo Theater, those close to her noticed alarming signs. She had several books about death and made unsettling comments about her past failed attempts, noting she had learned enough to ensure her next try would not fail. This deeply worried her friends and family, prompting them to watch over her diligently. With her 46th birthday just around the corner, Phyllis invited her friends to New York to attend the concert, hinting at an exciting announcement about her career. Unbeknownst to them, Phyllis had a different agenda in mind for that day. She had decided that June 30th would be her final day, planning to end her life after the concert. Her invitation was in essence meant to be a final goodbye to her loved ones. On that fateful day, everything was going as planned till she sensed that her inner circle might have caught wind of her tragic intentions. Unwavering in her resolve, she quickly improvised, deciding to carry out her plan before the concert, contrary to her initial post-show plan. To ensure privacy for her actions, she dispatched everyone around her on various tasks. She instructed her assistants to return in the afternoon to wake her for the sound check. Via phone, she reassured the show's promoter, Mary Flowers, of her performance that night, even requesting her to get her a special meal from Sylvia's renowned soul food restaurant to be ready in her dressing room. An hour later, at around 2 p.m., when her assistants arrived at her apartment, upstairs they found a note from Phyllis saying she was napping and did not wish to be disturbed. With a growing concern, they knocked repeatedly on her bedroom door, receiving no response. Their alarm escalated upon discovering her bedroom door locked from the inside. They quickly sought the help of the building's superintendent to gain entry. The scene that greeted them was heartrending. Phyllis lay unconscious, propped up by pillows, with a note and a pen loosely held in her hand. The note, penned in unsteady handwriting, seemed to echo the turmoil within. "I'm tired. I'm tired. Those of you that I love know who you are. May God bless you." Upon their arrival, emergency responders detected a faint heartbeat. Swiftly, they administered oxygen to Phyllis and transported her to St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital. For an agonizing hour and a half, her loved ones lingered in the waiting area as medical professionals endeavored to save her. Despite their efforts, it was to no avail. At 3:50 p.m., Phyllis Hyman passed away, her long battle with pain and despair coming to a close.
It hit the music world today. R&B singer Phyllis Hyman was found dead in her apartment this afternoon.
At the Apollo, the somber news of her departure deeply affected many, including the Whispers, who considered canceling their show as a tribute. Fans arriving were met with the news, leading to a mix of responses. Some gave their tickets away, while others sought refunds and were accommodated. The event teetered on the edge of cancellation until Phyllis's band members intervened, advocating for the show to proceed, believing it was what she would have wanted. Mary Flowers, the event's promoter, managed to uphold both Phyllis's memory and the Apollo spirit by ensuring the show went on, an action that resonated well with the audience that chose to stay. Demonstrating remarkable generosity, she ensured Phyllis's band was compensated, prioritizing respect over profit, a rare quality among promoters. The performance that day was charged with emotion, leaving an unforgettable impact on those who witnessed it. Phyllis Hyman's memorial service would later be held at St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Manhattan. Phyllis had just finished recording her album, I Refuse to Be Lonely, shortly before her death. The album, a lyrical journey into her personal life and death, was released 5 months after her death. Both the title track and the single I'm Truly Yours became minor R&B hits. In September 2007, an authorized biography was released, entitled Strength of a Woman, The Phyllis Hyman Story. The book is written by Jason A. Michael in cooperation with the estate of Phyllis Hyman. I would highly recommend those yet to read it to do so. It's worth reading. Finally, it's easy to judge Phyllis for seemingly surrendering to her challenges, yet only she knew the depth of her battles. Her story sheds light on the misunderstood and highlights the importance of empathy. Surrounded by many, she always felt profound solitude. Perhaps adherence to her medication could have altered her journey, but frustration steered her towards actions that strained her professional and personal connections. Nonetheless, her undeniable talent and allure stand out. Much like Billie Holiday, Phyllis was a trailblazer, setting benchmarks and refusing to conform. She might be gone, but her legacy will never be erased.
But to be afraid is something that I've always been. The difference is this time I'm not giving in.